Chapter 5. Tyranny of Obama's Radical Accomplices. Red October 2011. Obama's Communist Revolution. October 2011 marked the emergence into the public eye of the second Bolshevik Revolution, this one in the United States of America, egged on by our first communist president. You've seen the indicators of this revolution, the Occupy Wall Street mob of young, indoctrinated anti-capitalist students and other malcontents, the gangs of union thugs trashing the Wisconsin Capitol in the spring of 2011, the flash mobs of disaffected youths using cell phones and social media to organize raids to steal merchandise from American small businesses. When I tell you that Obama supports all of these mob actions, that he wants to use them to hasten the overthrow of the American government, you'd better listen. Our way of life is in jeopardy. I'll explain it to you. First, the people who make up Barack Obama's inner circle are lifetime leftist agitators. From David Axelrod to Rahm Emanuel to George Soros, they're proponents of mob rule in order to speed up their plans for assuming power. To hear them tell it, their target is the rich. In fact, the rich have nothing to fear from this administration. When the administration comes out in support of the Occupy Wall Street mob against the banks, they're merely deflecting attention from their true purpose. In fact, it was Wall Street that put Obama in power in the first place, as I showed you in Trickle Up Poverty. So why don't the people on Wall Street care that Obama is supporting the rabble as they demonstrate against the banks, against capitalism in general? Because Obama's supposed tax-the-rich plan won't touch them. It's not aimed at the truly rich, the people with $1,000,000-a-year salaries and perks that would make you and me blush. It's aimed at the small businessmen who employ 15 or 250 or 700 people, the everyday American entrepreneurs who make a good living and provide jobs for Americans, but who are anything but rich. Obama has made it clear that he hates the Tea Party. Does that come as a surprise to you? The Tea Party is the American middle class. Of course the president hates them. They're the bourgeoisie that every socialist hates. They're the people who work for a living, start companies, employ other people. They're the people who pay the taxes Obama squanders. In other words, they're dangerous to Obama's revolution. Their economic success has got to be shut down. Obama is targeting the middle class so the big bankers could care less what he says about them, or about the unwashed, unshaven, uneducated vermin who think they are promoting the downfall of the rich. His tax-the-rich scheme is aimed at people who are far from wealthy, but who are nonetheless already taxed at a rate near 40%. It doesn't affect the truly rich, who are much more concerned with the capital gains tax. That's because they know enough not to take their money as income, but in other forms that are not taxed as income. Do you think Warren Buffett is worried about paying income tax? Buffett, one of the richest men in America, earned nearly $63 million in 2010, of which about $40 million was taxable. He paid less than $7 million to the IRS, a 17.4% tax rate. He's advocating that people who make $1 million annually be taxed at the highest rate, and Obama is going to take that definition of millionaire down to people earning $200,000 annually. Obama was elected on the backs of hedge fund operators who made more than $1 trillion betting against the U.S. economy in 2008. If we're looking for assets to seize, that's where we should start, with the hedge fund barons. In large part because they bet against the housing market in the crash before the 2008 election, American people lost their homes. The hedge fund operators gained their fortunes at the people's expense. They haven't stopped ripping us off either. The $2 trillion hedge fund industry outperformed the S&P 500 stock index for the first 8 months of 2011, raking in more than $50 billion during that time. In August alone, hedge funds gained $6.1 billion. If Obama is looking for a place to start an economic recovery, he should start by seizing the assets of these hedge fund vermin. So what does this have to do with the rabble in the streets? They don't have the slightest idea of what's going on. They don't realize that they're nothing more than useful idiots being taken advantage of by Obama and Pelosi and Reid. The street mob's usefulness comes because they deflect attention from the left-wing cabal that's going on right before our eyes. They're not attacking Obama and Pelosi and the other leftist politicos who are taking over the United States, and so the president and his henchmen let them demonstrate. New York Magazine went into Zuccotti Park, where the New York City Occupy Wall Street demonstrators hung out, eating like kings and behaving like vermin. The magazine interviewed 50 Wall Street occupiers to find out if they knew what they were talking about. They didn't. They didn't know what the Dodd-Frank Act was. As I explained to you in Chapter 4, it was supposed to rein in the big banks and prevent them from engaging in the practices like marketing collateralized debt obligations and mortgage-backed securities that caused the financial meltdown of 2008 that led to Obama's election. It not only failed miserably to do what it was supposed to, it's very likely that it was never intended by the lawmakers who cobbled it together to do anything to slow down the spread of bad debt and the collapse of the economy. The demonstrators didn't know that Ben Bernanke was the Fed chairman, or that SEC stands for Securities and Exchange Commission. Two of the respondents said it stood for Southeast Conference. They had no idea about marginal tax rates. One of those answering explained that he knew a whole effing family of billionaires who don't pay a thing. The demonstrators overwhelmingly, 94%, thought that more federal money was spent on defense than on health care, pensions, and education. In fact, less than half as much of taxpayers' money is spent on the military than on those three. But you wouldn't expect these freeloaders to know anything about paying taxes. The longer they're in the streets, capturing the headlines, getting the leftist anti-American message out there, the better it is for the subversives in the administration, who are truly undermining the country as they seize more and more power over every aspect of our lives. What you don't know is that the Russian Revolution of 1917, the one I compare our emerging revolution to, was not a revolution of the working classes. Karl Marx, the founder of communism, was the son of a lawyer, not a member of the proletariat. Friedrich Engels, his co-conspirator, was the son of a wealthy German cotton manufacturer. Vladimir Lenin, who led the revolution, came from a comfortable middle-class family. The original communists were the hippie trust fund cases of their time, and yet they were able to incite the poor and starving people of Russia into revolt. Note, though, that there is no starvation in America. Most of the gutter rats you see demonstrating in the streets today are well-fed products of comfortable middle-class homes, too stupid to know they're being used to promote a new communist society that they think will make it so they don't have to work for a living, like the parents who are still supporting them do. You may not be aware that the revolution that's occurring today in the Occupy Wall Street movement has an American counterpart. 42 years ago, the Weathermen, an American communist revolutionary group, took to the streets of Chicago in a demonstration they called Days of Rage against the imperialist oppressors. The purpose of the Days of Rage was to initiate the destruction of the American system, as it was outlined in a manifesto titled, "The elections don't mean shit. Vote where the power is. Our power is in the street." It didn't work out that way. The demonstration was such a dismal failure that it caused the communist movement to change its strategy dramatically. The movement went underground, with radicals like Obama's friend and ghostwriter Bill Ayers throwing bombs from the shadows rather than demonstrating in the streets. The movement re-emerged, its people now wearing business suits and skirts as they merged into the mainstream, planning a less direct revolution than the one they initially envisioned.